You can feel it now. The healing post that sounds beautiful, but nothing's actually changing. The boundary that is really just avoidance. The manifestation that never becomes action. The person preaching peace who cannot practice accountability. And maybe that has made you tired of the whole thing. But maybe you are not tired of healing. Maybe you are tired of healing being performed. By the end of this episode, you'll have a better way to tell the difference between healing that is being lived and healing that is just being worn. Because in this day and age, with such a saturated market, it's vital to know the difference so that you're not wasting your time on things that aren't actually going to help you evolve, transcend, and reach the heights you are looking for. My name is Michael Perry, and I'm joined today by Justin Gates. And this is the new Ashla Podcast. Hello and welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. Today we're diving into sort of the healing scene itself, you know? A lot of people are getting burned out right now, and it's totally understandable because there's all these videos. Manifest your dream relationship. Manifest the dream job. It's all these things about, you know, if you can just think it hard enough, if you can just believe it strong enough, then it's yours. And you know what?
Just believe harder, baby. Just believe harder.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things, too, like the thing that irks me, because I've seen a lot of this, it's one of the reasons I don't really follow a lot of spiritual people, is because it's very much a select few that are actually preaching accountability or preaching practices that can actually change your life, instead of just trying to tell you, oh, cut people out of your life if they disrespect you, instead of having that hard conversation to set boundaries and keep that relationship strong. There's all these areas.
You may not remember this, but maybe you do. When I first started, after we got all through, after we started cutting through your kind of thick spiritual ego when I first met you, and I started kind of telling you about Ashla, and you gave me this look like I was growing another head out of the back of my neck or something, because what I was explaining to you was a system that deals with accountability and responsibility and all these things that you're talking about that does make it, I'm not bragging here, but it does set it apart in a lot of ways. And this is where we need to start being honest about something. It's something that you and I are honest about all the time. We lay ourselves bare every episode, right? We're out there in the wilderness, man, naked and afraid sometimes. And you know what I mean? Telling it like it is and being vulnerable, because that is the pathway to all these things that we wish it want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are really frustrated with the healing scene and the healing culture and whatever else, spiritual culture. And they have a lot of good reasons to be, as you said. But not all that frustration, and not all that frustration is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because this stuff has become so mainstream. Healing language has become so mainstream. You and I have our meetings, behind the scenes of the show. And sometimes I'll tell you, it's like, dude, we're using this word too much. It's just such a pop culture thing. I'm tired of hearing it. I know they're probably tired of hearing it. So then you and I come up with ways to try to be more authentic with it, right?
Yeah.
Because we hear people talk about trauma and boundaries and nervous systems. And yes, we talk about that stuff too. And manifestation and shadow work and all this really pop culture-y stuff. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that people are bringing this stuff to light. But we have to understand that when things become popular, they also become easier to imitate, right?
Yeah. It's so true. One of the things you brought up was the beginning of my journey when I was sort of in that spiritual ego. And there's this shift. So I think a lot of people, especially in mainstream, the reason they are snake oil salesmen, as I call it, is because everyone in the beginning stages thinks what they need is awareness. And they market the hell on that. Let me give you the awareness you need so that you can change your life. Not the strategies, not what to do with that awareness.
Part.
Yeah.
It's the easiest. It's the part you can copy and paste, right? Awareness is the thing that you can copy and paste and polish it. Polish the hell out of it.
Yeah. Like, again, when we first started working together, that spiritual ego, I don't know if that's what I'd call it, but it was this naivety of, I'm reading the books. I understand the concepts. I don't need you to tell me how to integrate this by going and having hard conversations and crap. Like, I don't need that. What I see is doing? I get nervous when I talk to people, so I need to surround myself with people that don't make me nervous. And and it's just like that's not how you go about living in alignment. Alignment is speaking your truth. Alignment is having difficult conversations with the people you care about so that you can show up authentically and they understand you and respect you authentically. And it's just... Imagine
if, and I know someone's out there is going to correct me, and if I'm wrong, truly correct me. If not, just bear with me on this. But, imagine if a weed felt the same kind of pain we do, right? And a weed is under the ground. And it has to push itself up all the way through all that dirt and all that crap and all that stuff, right? Sometimes through concrete. We have weeds out here that will grow through the damn concrete. I'm sure they're everywhere, right? Imagine how painful that would be if we started off as little seeds and had to push our literal selves through the ground, through the concrete sometimes. That would be excruciating. But nothing grows without that process, right? You remember, maybe you don't remember, but like if you have kids, you understand that kids go through growing pains. That's really a thing. Like when their legs and arms are getting longer, man, it hurts. It hurts them, right? I remember having growing pains a little bit. At least I think I do. But yeah. I know I've seen my kids go through it, right? So growth is not meant to be easy. Think about how this earth was formed. I mean, nothing was easy about that, right? But like I said, when it becomes popular, it gets easy to imitate. And, you can polish a turd all you want to. It's still a turd. It'd be a shiny turd. But if you're not actually building integration into the things that you're trying to give people to help them with, then you're not doing anything, right? And you can shine these things up to take them to market and make them look really nice and really appealing, more appealing than the real work that's being done out there. It becomes easier to turn things into content or make it look like healing is happening, but when underneath the surface, nothing's actually happening at all. Yeah. Right? The thing I notice about these types of healing or coaching stuff that we see out there, they're usually fly-by-night. They come and go. They're like flash in the pan, right? Because there's no substance to them. People burn through it, and they get 1,000 people to burn through it. They make their money and they move along, right?
It's so true, though.
But what annoys me is that it's all about the shortcuts that really irritate me, right? Yeah. When I have students that want to take shortcuts, I get a little peeved. I get kind of annoyed because it's like, you think I got here by taking shortcuts? I suffered just as much as you have, right?
Yeah.
And no, you're not gonna take this into a shortcut. And I'm not trying to gatekeep anything. I'm just simply telling you, you will not heal with a magic pill, a magic bullet, or a magic wand. You will not.
Yeah. Well, and one thing just to build on that, because I think some people might not fully grasp what you're saying here. Because when he talks about shortcuts, it doesn't mean, I found this way to make healing easier. But it's when, again, like the best example I got is the whole, when I feel uncomfortable around people, I just won't deal with them anymore. That's a shortcut. It's where I can blame the people in my life for why I'm miserable. And that's easier than me saying, hey, maybe it's because I keep making poor choices or surrounding myself with situations that are not aligned with who I'm trying to become. And instead, you just project it outwards. Like that's the kind of shortcuts Justin's referring to.
I'm also talking about the bypassing. The shortcuts that become bypassing.
Yeah, well, and that's what a lot of these are. It's again, if I can blame the world, I don't have to be accountable for the part I'm playing in my own suffering. I don't have to reflect on why do I keep doing this, because it's easier to just say it's their fault, or I don't need to be around them because I'm protecting my peace.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's the difference here for us. This is about keeping up appearances and embodiment. The path of light is not about sounding healed. It's not about looking spiritual, whatever the hell those mean. Yeah. It's not about having a collection of the right words or wearing the right symbols or using the right language or presenting yourself as awakened. What it does is just simply becoming what you follow, becoming what you believe, becoming what you have faith in, right? Truth must become your actions. Love must become your behaviors. Integrity must become the very consistency that you wake up with every morning. And connection is one of the most powerful, but one of the hardest responsibilities we have. That's what we're talking about, right? Well, discernment, Michael.
Yeah, well, and that's really at the heart of it. That is the whole point of this episode. I know we sort of seem like we're bashing on a lot of things right now, but it's more or less because we feel the same frustration so many other people are. But the reason we're making this episode, and the reason I want you to just stay with us through this, is because what we want to teach you is discernment. One thing that's been really scaring me is I'm finally getting out there in the wild. I'm meeting clients. I'm networking. I'm putting myself around people and teaching classes. And one thing that's really starting to scare me is, as I talk about these topics like shadow work, it's people have this misconstrued understanding of what it is because of the people they watch online. I had one gal yesterday that I was talking with and sort of telling her what I do, and I told her, it's like, I do shadow work coaching. And she's like, oh, I've been really wanting to get into shadow work. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, what do you know about shadow work? And she's like, shadow work is where you sort of look at the behaviors you have and you decide to put yourself in situations where your life is aligned with your behaviors. And it's like, that is the opposite of shadow work. Like, no. Like that's how you avoid shadow work. That is how you repeat patterns.
Yes, that's how you got yourself in trouble. You're right. I just want to interject this real quick because you're right. And we have to be careful. We're not saying throw the whole thing away, right?
No.
Because there is real healing. There are real teachers. There are real therapists. There are real spiritual practices and disciplines that do build us better. There are real breakthroughs. Michael's got 1,000 of them that I've watched over the last 2 or 3 years. It's real. There are real people doing real deep, honest, painful, and beautiful work. So, yes, Michael, you're right. We shouldn't become cynical and say the healing culture is fake, because it's not. The answer is to become more discerning, as we always talk about in this show. Because when something sacred becomes popular, imitation will always show up. Just the way the world works. That doesn't make the sacred thing false. It just means we have to learn the difference between the real and the performance.
Yeah.
That's really what we have to try to learn to do.
Yeah. And I think one important thing here is it's even with people being so upset with the spiritual culture, it's not because they don't want to heal. If anything, they desperately want to, but they want to actually heal, and they're frustrated with these people. They get burned by different types of coaches. They get burned by these programs I think one of the things that I've seen a lot of people at arms with, and I've been through this, where it's like, I'm going to follow this person. I'm really interested in what they're teaching. And then we get so far into it, and it's like, pay $2,000 for my program so that I can actually help you do this. And it's just like, are you serious? Like, okay, no. I'm not giving you $2,000 because I was interested in your stuff, and now I'm going to see where it goes. That's one of the reasons.
But we do have to say that people need to eat. All people have bills, even healers. So be discerning, though, as you said, right? Let's
yes.
Just getting paid for a service is no different than paying a plumber to fix your plumbing.
Yeah.
However, right? Be discerning. Be really discerning, because, a lot of plumbers can fix the plumbing in your house, and you have to do your homework. Do your homework on your healers. Do your homework on your gurus or the people you follow, the groups you follow, things like that. This brings us back to picking a good tribe and a good group, right? So
yeah.
But do not feel like people shouldn't be paid for their work either, because they should.
Oh, 100%. Not at all. I've paid $2,000 for a course that I was thrilled with. Like, I got my money's worth out of that course. And I completely agree. Again, it's sort of this bait and lure that I see that's frustrating. Like, for instance, we're going to start charging for services. We're going to start having these different types of, spoiler alert for the future of New Ashla, we're going to have it where people can subscribe to these monthly paid programs where they can get more in-depth information on the work we're doing, more involved community and interactions. But you look at our content, we don't have podcasts that go so far and then we're like, all right, now you got to pay for the answer.
Right. Yeah. And because we mentioned it, the temple work, the temple stuff we'll never charge for that. That'll always be free. What he's talking about is the deep healing, coaching, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're never going to teach you how to be more spiritual. We're never going to charge you money to understand the Ashla way and live the Ashla way, to live by that life philosophy, if you so desire. But the stuff he's referring to would be more like coaching and programs and kind of the traditional healing things you see in the world today. So,
yeah. Well, and there's a discernment here because it is kind of two spheres we're creating that interweave with one another. One side is the philosophy and how to sort of create a code of values and a way of living. And the other is practices in integration and more, here's the work to help you live in alignment and work through your trauma and just live a more authentic and fulfilling life. And there will be some of that within the temple as well. But these will just be much more personalized.
Right, but one-on-one stuff. And I have to eat too. So does Michael. And if that would be more like a job for us if we're spending time with people more one-on-one. So more of that'll come later. But so let's move on to this performance versus the actual work. This is where we have to separate the whole looking healed from living healed, right?
Yes.
Because that performative healing usually looks polished. It has the perfect words and the right captions, and Justin isn't saying fuck on the radio, and the right aesthetic and the right perfect tone and the right spiritual language, Michael. Everything sounds perfect and right and perfectly evolved and all this stuff. But real healing is not like that. It's like getting in a back alley fight with like 3 alley cats who want the can of tuna in your pocket, right?
Yeah,
it's
healing sucks.
Fun.
That girl I was talking to yesterday about shadow work and all that, and she was very interested in like doing the work, and she was telling me, she's like, I bought the crystals, I've done, what else did she say? It was a whole bunch of the like outside stuff, and it's just like, as she was like, I would really love to work with you. And I looked at her, I'm like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of the stuff you're doing is great. And also, if you really are, when we work together, I'm going to be blunt and honest with you. And it is going to be triggering. The work we do, the work you want to do that you're talking about, is not the sunshine and rainbows you're imagining. It is not, I have an epiphany and now my life is better. It is excruciating work because you're training your nervous system to show up differently. Breaking the habit of being yourself is not easy when you spent your whole life.
I think you get some of that from me. I'm sorry in advance. He's going to be very tough on you. Maybe I was a little too tough. Was I too tough on you, Michael?
You weren't tough enough, if you wanted my honest opinion.
Oh, God.
Yeah. See, this is the one thing I worry about my practice is I look at you, I look at Courtney, I look at a lot of the people I look up to in the practices they do. And there's one thing they have all in common that is so different than the way I want to approach my work. It is, let me hear what you have to say, let me give you some guidance as far as like what to look at in yourself, and it's no answers. You figure it out. And me, I'm going to be like, look, you're doing this, here's your pattern. This is what you're doing. This is what you got to change. And that's good. But also, is that right? Because I do notice with people like you who have been doing this for a long time, it's the opposite. So this is actually a coaching moment here for you to coach me. Like,
I think you'll learn. Yeah, I think you'll learn the hard way then, maybe.
Yeah.
Because really, this it depends on who you're talking to, right? It depends on.
Oh yeah.
So, remember the core of what I taught you about mentoring and guiding people, right? Is that you have to try to figure out where they're oriented. Now, I'm going to say up, down, left, and right. This does not mean politically or anything else. I'm just saying, think of this like the center is the center of this cross, okay? And I need you to try and be in the center. That's where we try to guide all people to balance.
Yeah.
So if you're too far right, I need to bring you a little bit left. If you're too up, too down, whatever, you get the point. And so sometimes I do have to grab people and drag them along, kicking and screaming. I just didn't have to with you.
Fair enough. I was pretty malleable as a student. I was very much
what you felt like you needed, and the direction you felt like you needed to go, maybe didn't need to be quite so abrupt, right? When you look back. But there were times where I was just like, shh, no more talking, right? There were times.
Yeah.
There were times where I was like, stop talking. It's my turn, right? Or listen, we're going to use all our time today talking about this nonsense that you think is happening, or I can just help you get right to it, right? So, but your coaching had a lot different angle to it too. I was teaching you to be a luminary. I was teaching you to be a knight in my order, right? So a lot of people who are going to come to me and to you for coaching or for guidance or for mentoring or help may not be looking for that. So that's why there are the two spots. It's why there is the temple and then there is the practice, right? So, but yeah, anyways, so yeah.
No, I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense because I was apprenticing in the temple side of things. I wasn't coming to you for coaching.
You were apprenticing to replace me someday as the master of this temple, right? Let's just call it what it is, right? And I'm not just one thing. And you'll never be me, of course, right? You'll be you. But that's why your coaching style is going to feel so much different because you are you. Your background is so much different than mine, which is a good thing. Which is why this show works so well. I'm kind of the old wizard with a unkempt beard, although it's nice and trimmed today. And you're the slick, smart kid from the city somewhere, right? That's just right. That's why this works. So no, you don't need me to tell you how to coach. You don't need me to tell you how to guide. I think you're going to do just fine. Do it the way that you feel like you need to do. Just be flexible. That's my only advice. Just be flexible.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right because the most important part, I think, when it comes to working with clients is you got to figure out how they're oriented. You got to see where they're at, how deep they actually want to go, and
levels of ego,
it's understanding their perspective and everything. So
levels of trauma, levels of knowledge, levels of insight, right?
Yeah.
For you, I had tons of insight that I had to help you integrate. You had tons of good stuff in here. I just had to figure out how to help you get it to the rest of you, because you're a sharp kid, right? You understand a great deal of things.
It's a blessing.
You understand
and a curse.
things. It is. Trust me, I get it. I get it. But yeah, you're just going to do it how you do it. But this whole conversation, it sounds like we've got off topic, but it's not. We're talking about actual healing here. We're talking about actual things and not just performance, right? Because you could take all the cool things that I've given you. You could take all the axioms, and you could take all the stuff, and you could even polish those better than I did. And someday you probably will, because the student always surpasses the teacher. That's the point. But what we're talking about here is not performing. We're talking about actual work, actual healing, right? And that's where the big difference is. Because this identity that we want to identify with this wise and spiritual and evolved, conscious, high being, high vibration, right? But embodied healing says, okay, pal, so how do you actually live when you're uncomfortable? Answer that question. How do you treat people when you're not feeling good or when you're hurt? Right? How do you respond when you don't get your way? Mr. Wise Master, Mr. Spiritually evolved and conscious, high vibration, detached, above everything being. Can you admit fault without collapsing back into old patterns? There's no perfect spot here. I do all those things bad sometimes too, Michael.
Yeah.
To this day, I do some of these things badly.
Well, it takes me to an axiom itself, and sometimes it's the job of the higher self to guide the lower self. I'm butchering the axiom, but the point is we're not always living from the higher self.
No.
You look at the actual spiritual gurus that are actual gurus, not the people on social media, the people who are really the yogis, right? Even they have bad days. They are not perfect either, and they know it. They say it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I remember I was watching a video and this guy was talking about, look at me, I manifested my dream job. And I remember listening to this, and he's just like, follow my program so you can do the same thing. And I couldn't help but think about it, and it's just like, see, the thing he's not saying is, yeah, he wanted the job, but he also grinded hours to build up his resume. He did classes in the field to do it. He networked with people who could get him into that position. It wasn't just manifestation. Manifestation is nothing without action and meeting the universe halfway. And you see so much of that out there where you got these girls who, oh, I am a spiritually enlightened being, look at my Prada bags and stuff. And they fail to mention about how they were able to get a guy to spend a lot of money on them and stuff like that. And it's just like, come on. Like,
right. And the reason this stuff frustrates us so much, and it frustrates a lot of people on an intuitive level. Like they may not even understand why it irritates them, but it irritates them. Because you cannot fake wholeness. You cannot fake that. I don't care who you are. You cannot fake that. I will see it a mile away.
And there is a difference between confidence and wholeness.
Yeah, there is. Wholeness is actual integration. Whole integration. And I'll connect to our sacred ethos here, our Ashla ethos. It's this integration, this wholeness is when love and truth and integrity and connection and the sanctity of life begin shaping how we actually live. How we actually live, day to day, at our best and at our worst. Not just the things we say, not just the things we post, not just the things that we teach or share, not just what we believe, but how we respond. Not react, respond when that lesser self is activated. When those things are activated, because they never quite go away forever. They are a part of you. I'm sorry.
No, there's moments for both of us where those old patterns sneak up on us, come out, and we don't get a chance for that pause we preach. We preach the pause because it's a great skill to develop, but it does not mean you're not going to be human while you do this process. We're definitely human as we're doing this process. There's times where I get upset without realizing it before all of a sudden I'm like, I let my emotions take the steering wheel. I started telling myself a story about this.
Yeah, but it's how we treat people when we're disappointed or angry or whatever. It's how we repair when we know we've caused harm.
Yes,
So,
accountability.
It's how we stay humble when we're tempted to use our whatever thing we have, in this case be spirituality, as a way to be superior over others. The path we walk, the true paths, are not a costume. They are a bumpy, grinding road that we have to walk sometimes, that we hate it to do it, because that's the discipline. That's the path.
That's alignment, yeah.
You
were going to say a word earlier about this that I think also was really good, and you kind of switched the word over because you had a different tangent you were going for. One of the most important things you can look for when you are deciding who you want to follow, whose advice you want to take when you're on the socials or you're listening to podcasts, is what is their level of integrity? Because integrity is so vital when someone is teaching how to live in alignment and how to build your dream life. Integrity is vital. If they're trying to talk about how their life is all bliss and roses, when they're covering up the scars and they're telling you how to fix your life without showing you the process they had to go through. I mean, you see it on this podcast. We're vulnerable all the time about our own journeys, about our own struggles, even in the present moment.
Yeah, day to day. Justin V. Gates is the same person you will find everywhere he is. I don't say that to brag. I say that because that's what other people say. I don't pay attention to what I'm doing. I just do the things I do. But if you know me as an author, you'll hear me say the same things, and you'll see me living the same way. If you know me as a podcaster, if you're listening to this show, then the things I say, the things I do, the people that know me will tell you that's what this dude does. He's kind of weird, but that's what he does. Right? If you ask my family, if you ask my friends, people who don't even connect to me in this way, through these teachings, I don't go around teaching everywhere. It's hard to be a teacher in your own place, right? In your own town, because people knew you when you were little.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work that way. But
but
they'll tell you I'm still that same kid. I'm that same dude. So yeah, I mean, Integrity is the most important thing, because you said it perfectly. As we talk about how to be discerning, how to know who we should talk to or listen to or whatever, right? Because not every teacher is fake. Not everyone's manipulating people. Not every practice is useless. That's not what we're saying here. And not every spiritual space you go to is just marketing or branding, right?
Yeah.
But you have to ask, not do they sound wise, but do they live this way?
Yeah.
Because someone can sound really deep and not be grounded at all.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's like the healing. The reason so many people are so drawn and why the spirituality culture has blown the hell up is because the promise of healing is beautiful. It is what so many people have searched for their whole lives. The issue is so many people are looking for what's the easiest way to do this, what's the fastest way to do this, and
they're suffering,
unfortunately, a lot exactly, and people prey on that.
Yeah, they do, because they're hurting, they're suffering, and we don't want to suffer, but unfortunately, we are usually the thorn that's poking into our own sides. Bless you.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
So we do want to find the things, but that's something we have to look at. We have to look at the fruit of the teacher's trees, right? We have to see, ask yourself, do they help you become more honest to yourself and to others? More grounded, more accountable, because that's where healing comes from.
Yeah. Do they allow the nuance to exist?
Yes. Yes, because you have to learn to be more capable to yourself and more trusting to yourself. And those nuances are important, right? Do they tell you, do they say, Michael, did I ever say, you poor broken soul, come, son, I will, without me, you'll be broken, but I will make you whole. With me, you'll be whole, right? If they're doing that, there's something sketchy as shit about that. That's crazy. That's weird, right?
This brings me back to a thought, and we actually have it on our webpage because someone brought this up in one of our interviews, and it was so beautiful. We have a page on our site for different people we work with, people who do the same work we do, for people to find someone who might resonate more with them. Because even you told me when I first started working with you, I remember when I told you about working with Courtney, because she had sort of a different angle on some of the stuff I was working through. And you're just like, I want you to find a teacher or teachers that can help guide you. I'm not going to try to control you. I'm not going to make you work. I'm not going to make you choose her or me. You follow your path. And I remember a lot of students that have come and gone since I've worked with you, that have come in, and it's just like they go and work with a different teacher, and you're like, maybe that teacher can help them at the level they're at or from the perspective they have, because they weren't aligned with what I was teaching. And it doesn't mean that they weren't aligned with the core philosophy. It's just they could learn better from someone else. And that's really a key theme I've seen with a lot of spiritual leaders who I've worked with that are truly authentic. They're not trying to tell everyone I can fix you. It's let's see if we are compatible with what I'm offering.
And that's it, right? A teacher must choose a student, and a student must choose a teacher. They must choose each other. It's a relationship, as we talked about before. There is a relationship there that must be honored, that must be protected, that must have integrity, that must have the things where each person can grow from each other, right? Yeah. And not all students are for all teachers. Not all teachers are for all students. And not all philosophies or places are for each seeker. We cannot take that personal, right? We cannot do that, because if we do, or if someone gets mad at you, let's talk about some red flags and green flags real quick, because we're coming up to the end of the show here. But that would be definitely one of the red flags. If I'm telling you, what do you mean you're going to seek another teacher? My teachings aren't good enough for you, Michael? What do they know that I can't tell you? I can tell you, you don't need anyone but me. That's definitely a red flag. What are some other red flags?
Kind of along the lines of what you're saying. I always have an answer for you. I always know what the best solution is to every problem you have. Yeah. Another big one I see is shaming. I thought you were dedicated to this work.
Yeah, can you imagine if
you're just not trying hard enough? Oh my God.
That feels so disgusting to even think that I would even say that. It feels so gross, right? That if I'd have said to you, You got another teacher? How dare you? It just feels gross to even think that way. Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't. I try.
I think another big one is not being able to be corrected. There are times I'm like, you tell me something and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that's fact. And we'll have discussions. Like, one thing I love about the way you go about your teachings and the way Ashla is, it's not something that is doctrine that we follow. It is malleable. It is something that evolves with us and the world. And there are many a time where we have had discussions that expanded or changed the understanding of the very principles that are within it.
Yes. Yeah. Because that is what reveals us. That's what reveals where we are at whatever moment it is, right? That shines that beautiful, but sometimes telling light on us. And it shows us where we're lacking. Even me. Teacher doesn't mean all-knowing, all-powerful. The way we use the word master at Ashla is little m, not big M master, little m, and it just means teacher. It's just a way to say teacher, right? Not all-knowing, not all-powerful. Somebody who's just older than you and probably done more things than you, right? That doesn't mean they're better than you. Yeah. Such a good show. I thought this show was going to go in a different direction because a show like this because we see so many people getting bamboozled out there.
Yeah.
But I'm happy the way this show kind of pulled it in a better direction. Good job.
Yeah, it was very teamwork, right?
So I'll just kind of give you my closing thoughts on this real quick. Healing is real, obviously. If I didn't think it was real, we would not be having this podcast, really, right? If I didn't think healing was real or possible. So, but not everything that uses the language of healing, the popular language, is actually doing anything, right? That's the distinction that we have to, all of us, carry forward. Me, Michael, and all of you. So, but don't become crazy cynical. Find balance in your cynicism, right?
Remain open.
Always question. Yes, always question everything. Question everything Justin says. Question everything Michael says. That's how you stay open. That's how you stay, right? Healthy and balanced. And
we say all the time, leave comments. We are more than welcome constructive criticism, or if we have the wrong opinion on something. We are willing to look at our own ideals and theologies and make changes where they're needed.
That's the whole point. But we're not saying to throw this stuff away. None of it, right? Just become more discerning. Just be better at telling who's selling you crap and who's selling you healing. And it's not the stuff that makes us sound better or more conscious, or it's the stuff that makes us honest. It's the stuff that makes us accountable. It's the stuff that makes us more loving, the stuff that makes us more humble, the stuff that helps us respond when we're triggered and not just react. The stuff that teaches us how to repair when we do cause harm, because all of us do. The stuff that helps us set boundaries without this air of superiority, right? So don't lose faith in healing. If you're out there on the fence right now, don't lose faith. Lose faith in the performance of healing. Lose faith in those stupid shortcuts that never work for anyone. Lose faith in the people who need you dependent on them for whatever reason, because they have a lot of work to do and healing to do. And send them our way. We would be happy to help them, right? But don't lose faith in the actual work, because the actual work transforms all of us, right? Real healing brings us back to ourselves, not turns us into this perfect performance piece. So, and of course, if this conversation resonated with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe and follow the podcast. Share it with your friends, share it with your loved ones, people who you may think will find something good here.
Yeah.
And
who are getting cynical.
These conversations help people return to discernment, and your support helps us carry this work further. So that's what I have for the show today.
One thing I want to piggyback with that too is my biggest concern with how people are starting to shut off to the spiritual scene and healing. Maybe not healing as a whole. People want to heal. That is not going away. It's people losing trust in people who are experts in the field. Mm-hmm. There's nothing more powerful. I spent my whole life, without knowing necessarily I was doing healing, but trying to live in alignment. The thing that changed my life is when I started working with people who not only were living it, but knew this stuff too, and humbling myself to go and work with someone who was a master, who knew what I was working through. It is so important to have a mentor. It is so important to have a teacher or a coach, to have someone who can help lead you down the path of healing, who can help you stay accountable, who can help you find the shadows on the wall when we start to dissect things and we start making things up in our heads. Because I know when I first started and I started doing shadow work, I was trying to find every explanation for every behavior I had. And when you start doing that, you can, again, put shadows on the wall that are not actually the issues going on. So find someone who resonates with you, who genuinely is helping you address what's going on. Because, again, healing is not comfortable, but also it's not something you should do alone. At the bare minimum, bring the people in your life in and talk to them about the work you're doing. Talk about the things you're realizing and trying to understand, because they might be able to help you sort of look at it from a different perspective and integrate properly instead of making things up about you. I remember one of the biggest ones for me was I thought my anger was something that I repressed because I thought anger would be destructive and not effective. And then I realized I do have anger. The issue is I was putting the anger on myself instead of on others. And that took someone that was working with Justin and having that realization as we picked it apart instead of doing it on my own. I found the source instead of making up the source. Mm-hmm. So for our exercise today, I want you to take something you've been working on, something you've been following, that's the algorithm is pushing. That's the best way to phrase it. Look at what the algorithm is pushing, because those are the messages you're being drawn to. Protect my peace, doing the work, manifesting, healing my inner child. And ask yourself, are the things you're listening to just affirming to you different things? Are they actually leading to action? Are they helping you become more honest, not just with yourself, but with the world around you? Is it changing? Are you changing behavior with the stuff you're digesting? Or are you still showing up as the same person? Just ask yourself, what would this look like if I started actually practicing what I'm listening to? Is there a practice? Or is it just telling you you're fine just the way you are? Which is loaded right there, because you are not broken, you are not faulty. But also, to live in alignment requires us to break the habit of being ourselves. For affirmations today, I do not need to perform healing for my healing to be real. My growth is shown through practice, not image. I can protect my peace and still face hard truths. I can use discernment without becoming bitter. Real healing brings me closer to honesty, humility, and love. And just one journaling prompt today. Where have I been using the language of healing without fully living the practice of? Thank you so much for joining us today. This was a fun episode. It's a little different than what we normally do, but I thought it was really important to bring this topic up because, again, I don't want people closing off to healing and working with other people, because this work truly changes lives. I know for me, I went from being stuck in a room, afraid to talk to people, and completely lost in my direction in life to building a life greater than I ever thought I could have. This work is magical, but it's also difficult. It's also humbling, and it will shake you to your core in some of the most uncomfortable ways. But if you're doing the work, if you're doing the practice, if you're showing up every day, even if it's not as good as you showed up the day before, if you're consistent, change is real and change is powerful. Again, as Justin was saying, please like, subscribe, share it with someone you think needs to hear the message. Follow us on all the socials: YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Also, check us out on the best website ever, newashla.com. We'll have a newsletter coming up soon, so please subscribe to that. And also, check out the packet below as an episode guide, something to help you sort of discern when you're looking at people and following different people, to help you ask questions to decide if this is something that is either A, someone trying to sell something, or something that can actually help you integrate your life. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us. With love and gratitude, ad lucem.
Ad lucem.